Are lawyers happy? Well, hey guys, it's Mikayla and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be answering the most commonly Googled questions about lawyers. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified of when I post new videos. And don't forget to buy my journal. With that, let's get into the video. Question number 1. Are lawyers and attorneys the same thing? Lawyer and attorney are used interchangeably. I feel like this is kind of personal opinion, but there is a legitimate answer as well because I looked this up after I graduated law school before I had passed the bar exam. So a lawyer, if you Google it, to my understanding, a lawyer is someone who has graduated law school. So you have a JD, you have a Juris Doctorate, but you have not passed the bar exam yet. An attorney is somebody who graduated from law school and took and passed a bar exam and is licensed to actually practice law. Again, they're used interchangeably. Honestly, I have heard that if you just graduated law school, like fresh off the graduation stage, and you have not even taken the bar exam yet, calling yourself a lawyer could piss people off, but you know, use at your own discretion. I mean, I don't really care. I use them interchangeably. Are lawyers happy? Well, some are, some aren't. I mean, just like any population or subset of any population, there's going to be people who are happy and people who are not. I think lawyers can be happy. I think that we have a unique situation just with our jobs and just how hard everything can get and how many hours you have to work, similar to like a doctor, you know, something like that. Like it's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. It can be a little miserable sometimes. Also, we deal with people a lot. People can also suck. If you're dealing with someone that's kind of hard to deal with, that can negatively affect your mood too. But overall, some are, some are. I honestly can't say most are. I'm not even confident enough to say that, but we're making it. Are lawyers rich? Again, some are. I think a common misconception is that all lawyers are just wealthy. Like if you are a lawyer, you are rich. That is not the case. And I know a lot of people go to law school for that reason. I'm not necessarily excluded from that group of people, but there is so much more variety in the legal field as far as salary is concerned than a lot of people realize. There are lawyers who go get government jobs, state attorney office, public defender's office, making $40,000 a year in some places. There are lawyers fresh out of law school that go get a big law job making $120. It also completely depends on your geographic location. A lawyer in, let's say, Alabama may not be making as much as a lawyer in New York or California, for example. And there is such a big variety of types of law you can practice and areas of law and things like that that have a very large effect on how much money you make. So are all lawyers rich? Absolutely not. Can it be a very lucrative field? Absolutely. Are lawyers allowed to lie? Well, we're not allowed to, but do we? Some people do. Some lawyers, there's always gonna be one, okay? Like, no, you're not allowed to lie. You're allowed to twist the truth into a way that favors your client. You are allowed to frame facts in a way that makes your side of the story more believable. But no, you can't just go around lying. I mean, you know, just like with anything, you have to get caught for there to actually be a consequence. But one thing you absolutely cannot and should never do, lawyer or non-lawyer, is lie on the stand. If you take that oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you better tell the truth, okay? Just putting that out there. Don't get any ideas from SVU, all right? Are lawyers' fees tax deductible? Some are. I'm not a tax specialist and I'm also not a tax lawyer, so not 100% sure. I do know that some legal expenses I think that are business related can be tax deductible, but some are not. So definitely look that up, and I would say that's more so on a case-by-case basis than like one general answer. Why do lawyers use legal pads? You know, that's a great question. I use legal pads because everyone else uses legal pads, and I mean, if that's what the firm's buying, that's what you're gonna use. I don't see why you can't use a regular notebook either, but what I do know is traditionally legal pads tend to be yellow, and yellow paper is just like stands out a little bit more to the eye. However, there are legal pads in all different kinds of colors now. I have pink legal pads, purple legal pads, blue legal pads. So I don't really know. They're really long and they're just, you know, college rule lined. So it's kind of nice to have, but there's no particular reason that I know of other than probably history. Why do lawyers drag out cases? I don't know. Why do lawyers drag out cases? Okay, so keeping it real, the defense lawyers, right? Speaking mainly in civil. I can't speak on criminal, never been a criminal attorney, but civil lawyers, civil defense lawyers, they get paid as they work. They get paid for the time that they work. They bill for the time that they work. So the longer they can drag out a case, the more money they can bill for the hours spent working on that case. What incentive do they have to settle quickly? What incentive do they have to push things along? That's just less money they're gonna make on that case. Plaintiff's attorneys, on the other hand, we don't get paid unless the client gets paid. So we're trying to push those cases through as quick as possible, okay? Because the less time spent working on a case as a plaintiff's lawyer, the more hourly return, I guess you would get for that, if that makes sense. For a brief, easy example, if I got paid $1,000 from working on a case and I put 10 hours into that case, I would have made $100 an hour. But if I only put 5 hours into that case, I would have made $200 an hour. You see what I mean? So I think this is a better question for the good old defense lawyers. I did used to be one, briefly, but we don't need to talk about that. Why do lawyers do pro bono? Pro bono, in case you guys don't know, is it basically means free. It translates to free work, okay? First of all, it's always nice to do pro bono work to help out the community, help out the less fortunate, and help those who cannot afford legal fees. But a more official answer is because it is highly recommended by the Bar Association. The American Bar Association, the whole, you know, the America, not state by state, American Bar Association, recommends, I think, 50 hours of pro bono a year, which is kind of a lot if you think about it. Let's just say you're working on average 40 hours a week. That's a whole free week plus some of free work. The Florida Bar Association, though, only recommends, I think, like 20 hours a year, or they suggest you pay, I believe, like $350, like you donate that to, you know, a similar cause. However, it's not required. Like if you don't do any pro bono ever, nothing's gonna really happen to you. It's kind of just like, you should do it because it's good for the community and everything. It's the nice thing to do. Why do lawyers hate their jobs? Okay, listen. Here's the thing. Here's the real tea. Since we're asking why they're not happy, why they hate their jobs. Law school does not prepare you to be a lawyer, meaning what you do in law school is very different than the actual practice of law. When you speak to lawyers a lot of the time, a lot of them are not gonna be like, yeah, so I know you're kind of in this law school thing and like you're in your second year, you know, you're about to graduate soon, but I would recommend not being a lawyer because I hate my life, it's terrible. You know, no one's gonna say that. So a lot of lawyers are like, yeah, so fun, and it's really not that fun for some people. I think the problem is a lot of people think lawyers are how they're depicted on TV, or they're told by somebody they know in real life, but it's not an actual accurate depiction of your day-to-day life. People go into law school thinking they're gonna be rich, easy money, and they just get to spend all day arguing, and no, it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of motion drafting, it's a lot of strategizing, it's a lot of dealing with people that you may not wanna deal with. Clients, opposing counsel, judges. I mean, you know, not everybody's gonna be super nice and helpful and easy to work with. And I genuinely think if you were required to shadow a lawyer for a week even, or a month or whatever, before actually going into law school, a lot more people probably wouldn't go to law school once they realize what being a lawyer actually entails. The job can be fun. There are a lot of things about being a lawyer that are so fun, so exciting, so adrenaline pumping, but it's not always like that, and not every field is like that either. So I really suggest, if any of you are thinking about going to law school, to talk to as many real lawyers as you can and get their honest perspective on their experience day to day, and see if that's something you actually want to do before committing 3 years. And why do lawyers get suspended? Many reasons, actually. Every state has a state bar association, and the main purpose, I mean, the association has a ton of purposes, but one of their purposes is to govern the lawyers and their behavior and make sure that all of the lawyers are acting within the code of conduct that we have as a requirement to act within, and basically not making the profession look bad. You know that as a lawyer, you're always kind of out there representing, and we can't go into public acting crazy without consequences like some other people can. So you can get suspended for for malpractice. You can get suspended for theft if you are charged with a crime of dishonesty. You can get suspended for a lot of things. I mean, basically just be a good person and don't do crime. Don't do crime, ladies. Mikayla Taylor. But seriously, if you are just a decent person and don't do crazy stuff, you're probably gonna be fine. Unless you're that DUI attorney who got a DUI. That's my personal favorite story of just irony. How do lawyers get paid? Well, it depends on the lawyer. So I touched on earlier how defense gets paid by the hour. It's more specifically every 6 minutes. That's a whole different type of conversation, but they get paid based on the amount of time they spend working. Plaintiffs' attorneys, on the other hand, we get paid on what's called a contingency fee. A contingency fee means if we do not get money for our client, we don't get paid. Whatever money we get for our client from their case, whether that's through a settlement or we win a trial, for example, and whatever money we're awarded from that, we get a certain percentage of that. That's why you'll see that a lot of plaintiffs' lawyers have free consultations because, again, we can't make any money until you do. I personally love the idea of working on a contingency. One, because as a client, you can be confident that your attorney is going to work as hard as they can because, again, if you don't get any money, they don't get any money. So they're going to try to get you some money. And also, depending on the type of case, if you get a really big verdict, let's say $1 million, and you take 40% of that, it's $400,000 off one case. So anyways, long story short, it depends on who you are. Some people work hourly, some people don't. How do lawyers decide to take a case? Again, I obviously cannot speak for all lawyers, but it depends. Some lawyers take a case because a client comes to them in need and they truly feel bad and they really want to help the client and just help do what they can to put the client in a better position. Some lawyers only take a case if they think it's a good case. A good case can mean the liability is good, for example. So there is undeniable wrongdoing to your client. Another factor is damages. Let's say there is undeniable wrongdoing to your client, like somebody definitely did something bad to your client objectively, but nothing really came out of it. The damages are maybe like $100. That's probably not a good case to take. It completely depends on the attorney and it completely depends on the firm as well. Some law firms only take really big catastrophic cases, while other law firms will take practically anything. So you kind of just got to find the best fit for you and your case. How do lawyers dress? However they freaking want. No, I wish. So it depends on where you're going. If you are going to court, you are most likely going to be in a full suit. If you're meeting with the client, maybe you're in a full suit, maybe you're business casual. If it's a Friday and ain't nobody at the office, maybe you're in jeans and a t-shirt. It completely depends, but I honestly think that in 2022, it really shouldn't matter what you're wearing unless you just walk in there in a bathing suit, for example. I mean, that would be a little wild. But I feel like we need to stop policing people's clothes. It just quite literally is not that deep. I say that as I'm about to put on a full suit to walk right into the court though. So maybe I'm part of the problem. How do lawyers not cry when arguing? Practice? Not everyone in general cries when they're arguing, but if you're like me, you cry when you get frustrated, and there's going to be many times as a lawyer when you get frustrated. But crying just simply does not help you, and you kind of just gotta realize that and practice not doing it anymore. Also, you kind of just have to remember that the person you're arguing against and yourself, y'all are both just doing your jobs. That person is probably not actually mad at you. Y'all aren't actually fighting in real life. It's just part of the gig. I think being able to take those personal emotions out of it and just realize that what you're doing has no emotion. I mean, it has emotion. You're gonna be emotional, especially if you have a client who was wronged, but taking that personal emotion out of, oh, this person is arguing with me. It's not like that. It's your literal job to advocate, and that's all you're doing. And at the end of the day, after you're done advocating, go to the bathroom and let one out. And how do lawyers defend serial killers? This is a question I had throughout basically the entirety of my law school experience. I've always said I could never be a criminal defense attorney. How can you defend people that you know committed crimes? How can you defend people who killed people? Or worse, I mean, you know, not much worse than killing, but you know what I mean. And after enough times of asking this question, I finally spoke to someone who kind of gave me an answer that I'm okay living with. It doesn't apply to everyone, but what this person said was, take a minority, for example, a Black person. The defense attorney's job is not to lie, right? Their sole purpose is to guarantee their client a fair trial. So take, for example, the charge is murder, right? There's a white defendant who killed someone and a black defendant who killed someone. That attorney's job is to make sure the black defendant and the white defendant get the same consideration. And that's kind of what that defense attorney is there for. It's to make sure that their client has a fair trial. As an attorney, you just have to do your job. It is your job to defend your client until that verdict is reached, regardless of what they did. Everybody deserves the right to an attorney. And some attorneys just have it within them to where they can compartmentalize, put their personal feelings aside, and do their job. I'm just not one of them. Maybe you're not either, and that's okay. All right, you guys, and that's actually all the questions I have to answer today. So again, if you like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments and let me know if you guys want a part 2, because I can definitely do another one of these. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye, and go thrive.